Everybody, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Aspertillo.ai. And I'm here today with Max van der Klis-Busink.
Close enough, Tim Hughes. Thanks for having me.
That was my best Dutch. Max is known as Max, and we're going to talk about his book. You sent me loads of gifts. The Resilient Professional. 52 reflections for payroll and the rest of life. So, Max, where can people find you?
Currently, I'm at home, but normally people can find me best on LinkedIn and via my own podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any payroll event across the world. So if you see the word payroll, I would likely be close.
If you don't know Max, Max is a payroll influencer.
No.
Max, when you said that you'd written a book on reflections for payroll and the rest of life, I must admit, I thought
self-help book.
Oh dear, self-help book.
Yeah.
And you know, I really enjoyed it.
Phew! I thought, what are you going to say next?
And so I'm just going to read the back because I've got loads of questions to ask you. But
okay, all right.
Resilient Professional combines stoic wisdom with 52 practical lessons for navigating life in payroll and daily living. You don't need to be in payroll, by the way.
Not really.
And Max throws in a little bit about himself as well. So it's also autobiographical. But he goes through all these different stoic lessons, and there are 52 of them, and actually, you go, oh yeah. So I really
recognize a couple,
and it's unique. I've not seen anything like it, Max. So tell us what the inspiration was.
So why I wrote this book? I didn't write the book because I think I figured out life and thought, let's now share with the world how to live life. I wrote it because, over the past 20 years that I've been kind of a payroll professional, I've learned that payroll and life is much more a mental profession and kind of is a technical one. And I network with people all over the world, and they love to tell a story in their payroll context. So I think this is why kind of the book matters to them. It's about how to deal with life as a payroll professional, but as you said, also in general. And it's also personal. It's almost like a memoirs, because it starts with me as a 20-year-old stopping everything at my mom's garage, wondering what to do with life. And then
you decided to drop out of school.
I did. And then at some point I realized what actually got me here. It's not really the brain or the talent, but it's kind of the mindset and embracing stoic principles every day, who are known for making it very practical. So I just wanted to share those lessons, not because they're mine, but because they genuinely helped me to become who I am today.
So my first question is, I think you've actually kind of answered it, which is you've spent years being the passion for payroll guy. Yes. What was the exact moment or turning point that made you realize you needed to write a book specifically about resilience rather than another technical payroll strategy book?
Yeah, interesting. So the first book, which we also featured here about a year ago, of course, I have it handy. The Global Payroll Manager's Playbook is more indeed a technical book, how to do global payroll. And I released the second book, Resilient Professional, exactly 1 year after the first one. And the first time I actually noticed that I wanted to do this when I was on family leave, Tim.
Right.
In the woods, at a cabin, the part. And I always bring a book about Stoic philosophy. And then I thought, geez, if I reflect on all the conversations that I had and am having, and we're likely about to have, a lot is about resilience. And this was, still in the day and age of AI, the human-centric approach and actually recognizing you are a human became more important. And I wanted people to share in my experience and that stoicism and all of that isn't just self-help, right? You won't learn a quick, hey, do these 7 habits and you'll be happy for the rest of your life. Just a health warning. I don't give you any definitive answers in this book. Right, but it's a reflection. And the other thing is, sometimes people tell me, you called me a payroll influencer. I would never call myself that, Tim.
No, I know.
But somehow people find me an influencer. And I also want to share that I also have my normal struggles in life and as a professional. So at the end of the day, we're all
and as a dad and a husband and a
friend and a football player who's currently unhappy because we lost against Morocco. Any Moroccans on the line? Congratulations.
For those that are watching, it's July 2026, and the Netherlands have just lost to Morocco in the World Cup. The subtitle is 52 Reflections for Payroll and the Rest of Life. Why was it important for you to bridge the gap between a highly specialized corporate profession and everyday human life?
Because they are two separate worlds. Sometimes we talk about work-life balance, and I'm a firm believer that doesn't exist. I bring life to work, and I bring work to life, and I try to bridge that gap.
The book is broken down into 52 reflections, one for every week of the year, which also happens to nicely align with the weekly payroll cycles.
Yes.
Was this structured intentionally for readers to digest slowly, and how do you recommend someone actually read it?
Yeah, and I think I write about this in the section how to read the book. I chose 52 because I know that people have a short attention span these days. The average time someone looks at a video is about 10 to 15 seconds. If I now ask them to clear their whole weekend or 2 hours, as we discussed, to read a book, I don't think they will do it. And what I also wanted people to do is actually reflect on a topic and a specific situation. Otherwise, if you read the book, which you're welcome to do, start to finish, you might forget what the lesson was or the perspective was in the first week if you are at week 52. So I wanted this to be your companion on a Sunday evening, to move away from binge watching and another screen, to just let me read 2 pages, because every week is 2 pages, just 2 pages. And then I end with an action for that week, just a thought to ponder about. You're like, oh yeah, let me just think about it this week and maybe act on it next week. So I wanted it to become actionable and digestible.
Payroll is famously an industry where no news is good news. And you only hear from people when something goes wrong. How does that unique pressure shape the mindset of a payroll professional? And what does your book offer to combat that invisible worker burnout?
Yeah. So I actually don't really think that the pressure only comes from the invisibility. I think the pressure comes from that we're responsible for the financial situation of people, of humans. I think that's where most of our responsibility sits from. And I'm just thinking of a quote. What was it? I need to look. Oh yeah, week 9. I think we can open. Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but the opinions about the things. Sometimes the payroll people are too attached, personally attached to what they do, which is a good thing because that motivates us and drives our passion. But it also means we are deeply affected by the results, whether it's the sound of silence or the sound of screams and tickets of saying, our pay is wrong. So I think we need to somehow detach the way that we value ourselves from the deliverables we do as a profession.
I know that you share a lot in the book about how you feel connected to it, because like lots of payroll professionals, if the pay is wrong, a lot of people sit there and work into the night sorting it out.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that will likely not change. But I think the point I'm trying to make is it shouldn't affect us personally that much. We become too personally attached to what we do, and that drives us mad.
Resilience has become a bit of a corporate buzzword lately, often used to mean work harder through bad conditions. How do you define true resilience in the book, and how does it differ from just toughing it out?
Tough question, Tim. I'm not sure if I actually reach that goal that you just shared. But what I try to do is move away from resilience just being a buzzword and say, hey, you just need to, get back up and don't be so affected. I think what I've tried to do is that resilience is also actually acknowledging that you are insecure, that you do have a problem, that you do not agree or you do not know how to cope with it. And that's perfectly fine. To give that psychological safety, to speak up. And what I then try to do is give very practical tips of how I dealt with it that you can just do today, and you don't need to be you don't need to have a university degree, you don't need to be a philosopher. It's very practical stuff. That's, by the way, why I've chosen Stoic philosophy, because when I was younger, even younger, I always struggled with me being me, and being told you're different, and how do you cope with this. And at some point I wanted to study philosophy, and I've studied a lot of different philosophies, and the Stoics is what got me, due to their practicality. And there isn't like this divine end state that we need to pursue, right? They call it being a proficient. It's the route to where you want to become. And if you're on the route, it doesn't really even matter if you reach the end goal, as long as you're consciously working on your own mind. That, for me, probably is a long way to answer what does resilience mean.
I think one for me, to be stoic also is about understanding you can only control what you can control.
Exactly.
And I think that in a way gives you a certain amount of I quite often say I just can't control that, and actually I feel so much.
Yeah.
There's a sort of a release.
Yeah.
I can't control that,
Exactly.
and my partner was, "Are you being stoic again?" Yeah, I know, because I can't control it. So there's nothing that I can do. The other thing I think that you give the reader is that the number one thing that people say in every single leadership book I've read is you need to be self-aware.
Yeah.
You need to be self-aware if you've got a temper, if you're a people pleaser. You need to be aware of all of those things, because whenever we engage with people, we need to know how we're going to do that engagement. And what you do is you take people through that process, enabling people. It's just a different way to lens to look in upon yourself, to say, I'm like that, or I'm not like that. So, for example, for the watchers, Max says in the book that he likes wearing shorts, and he wears shorts. We're recording this in July, but he will wear shorts in the winter.
Yeah.
But what Max says is that's what people looked at me and thought I was weird, but I've realized that is who I am. I like wearing shorts, and therefore I'm going to carry on doing that. And that's about you being self-aware.
Exactly. And probably I think part of my success is staying authentic and being comfortable being you. And I don't think wearing shorts is a bad habit I'd actually need to work on, Tim. And I give this practical example of a person who just won a Payroll of the Consultant of the Year award, and I talk about stuff like wearing shorts or not, but it's a much bigger theme, as you say. It's about, hey, are you authentically you, and are you comfortable being you? And the other one is, I don't remember this week where it's in, but if you decide to do something, expect that people will see you doing it and they will opinionate about it. And for me, the best example is the shorts. Like, I was in school teaching something for my daughter. They have like a technical lessons where there's a participation of parents. And like half of her class walks up to me, says, why do you wear shorts? Why do you always wear shorts? And the only answer I say is, because I'm comfortable wearing them. And then I return a question. I said, the wardrobe, what you're wearing today, are you comfortable wearing that? 50% says yes, and 50% says no. I said, hey, go talk to your parents.
So, without giving too much away, which of the 52 reflections was the most difficult or vulnerable for you to write?
The last one. And I probably knew you would ask this. It's a very simple quote. It's week 52. It's, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. Because I am no saint, Tim. I have done wrong things. I have said things I should not have said.
Yep.
And I think there is this perception, especially on, if we can still call it social media, that you need to be always right and you need to be always kind of true and trustworthy. And I think it's been, especially as a trusted, advisor and consultant, it's pretty tough to say, hey, I'm also not perfect and I'm not afraid to say it. But I wanted to break that barrier, because people sometimes only see, the pictures that, oh, you traveled again, you're here. So I always also make daily mistakes. And that was probably one of the hardest things to write. The other one was about the when I was working at Zoom and being laid off. Because it on LinkedIn it seems like an impeccable CV, and I was laid off due to just tech reorgs. It wasn't kind of performance related, but still, and I felt so bad, Tim, for the times that I said to other people who experienced that before I did, to say, you'll find something else, just man up, whatever, until you go through that experience yourself. And that taught me a bigger lesson, to say, never assume how others are feeling in a certain situation. Always ask and reflect, never assume. That was probably most toughest to write.
In high stakes environments, people often sacrifice the rest of life to excel at work. What is a core reflection in your book that helps professionals set boundaries without feeling they are dropping the ball at their job?
Yeah. It's probably what is in your control and what isn't in your control, Tim. One of the core kind of Stoic principles. What is in your control is to set your own boundaries. What's not in your control is how others will react to it. And I had this reflection when I was working at PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers consultant in Amsterdam. And I was living in Dordrecht at the time, which was an hour drive, but there was also a lot of traffic, so 2.5 hours. And I stayed there, like I started at 6 and I left at 6. I was doing all the work. And at the meantime, I was sacrificing everything. I couldn't do anything else than just work. And at some point, I decided to leave at 4 p.m. at a big consulting firm where everything's up and out. And I was at the end of the hallway of our floor. And at the start of the hallway, the partner was. So I had to walk off the end of the hallway all the way through to the partner at 4 p.m. Got all kinds of comments like, what are you doing? Are you taking a day off?
Time.
And I said, no, I am setting my boundaries here. I'm going home. I will be back tomorrow. I might be there at home, but I don't want to go through traffic again. And, that's owning what you can own and just accepting the rest that happens and others' opinions, because I can't influence them. That took, for better, lack of a better word, resilience, right? Or courage. Say, hey.
Yeah, courage.
Whatever.
Payroll changes constantly, compliance, regulations, software updates. Reflection-wise, how can professionals train their minds to view constant disruption as an opportunity rather than a threat?
Yeah. Was it Heraclitus who said the change is the only constant? That means that this saying has been true for the past 2,000 plus years, Tim.
Yep.
Let's just all accept this now. If they could accept it at 1 BC, we should be able to accept it in 2026. And a quote comes to mind, I don't know which week, I think 8 or 9, is, men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. So if you accept that there's always change, then your perception of what happens change, which means you would have much more positive energy towards what is actually changing. And you would not only accept what's changing, but you actually want what's happening, right? After this, I will go down. My wife's down, my kids are down, and I'm like happy, buzzing. And I think, yeah, they might be fighting, they might be angry because of the heat, there might be something. I just accept whatever happens and say, hey, I'm going to be fine. Does it always work? Am I a saint, Tim? No way, I do lose my control from time to time. But that, I think, if you just accept it and know that you can only control your opinion, but not the actual situation most of the time, then you can redirect your energy to your opinion, and that's something you can't control. That's as simple as it is.
If a manager or team leader reads this book, how can they use your 52 reflections to build a more resilient culture within their team rather than just focusing on individual coping mechanisms?
This might be how I would personally do it as a team leader and a manager, but by showing your own vulnerability, by showing that you're human and that you have your own doubts and insecurities, and by opening up, by creating that kind of psychological safety and not making it all too heavy. Like, that's why I give the example of wearing shorts, Tim. It's everyday life. It's not only big themes like, what will happen with society? There is too much war. There is this. No, make it very small, make it very tangible. and just let people be people and forget about titles or hierarchy. Human to human connections, Tim.
By the time a reader finishes all 52 reflections, what is the number one shift in perspective you hope they experience?
I would hope that they are comfortable being themselves. That would be probably the number one achievement. If that's what I achieved after all of these reflections, then I think I did a good job.
So, last question. Looking back at your career journey to this point, how does publishing The Resilient Professional change or evolve what passion for payroll means to you?
That's a good question, Tim. For me, it means that the core values of me running my business are now set in stone, which is, I think, trust, fun, and authenticity. And just be comfortable being me. I'm not your corporate McKinsey or PwC consultant yet delivering the same or better quality while having fun in shorts and an orange shirt, Tim.
Well, better.
Right?
So, Max, thank you so much for coming on. So if I wanted to buy a copy of The Resilient Professional, I didn't know it did that.
Yeah, fireworks. No, this is a secret.
It doesn't work for me.
No, like I told you all my secrets in the first two books. This one I'll just keep to myself. Your question was going to be, where can they buy them? So they can buy them on Amazon.
Where can we get a copy of that, Max?
They can buy them on Amazon. They can buy them on my own website, passionforpayroll.com. But I've also narrated it as an audiobook myself.
You've done it yourself. Fantastic.
I've done it myself from scratch. I will likely never do it again. It was a lot of trial and error, but it's on like Spotify, Audible, Storytel, all of the major platforms. You can also get it as an audiobook narrated by me.
Fantastic. And where can we find you apart from in the Netherlands, Max?
Oh, I will be on LinkedIn. That's the best thing to do. LinkedIn, Passion for Payroll. Physically, I will be in London 2 times, Barcelona next week. If you want to know about my whereabouts, drop me an email at max@passionforpayroll.com or on LinkedIn. And I'm sure we'll find ways to connect.
Max, thank you so much for coming on, talking about your book. Really loved it. Always fun to talk to you. And clearly you've got lots of secrets out there, and thank you so much.